Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining 10 Minute Tuesdays. Thank you so much for hopping on. I'm excited for this one. I got my guy Rashid on here. Rashid, what's good, bro?
I'm good, man. Happy to be here. It's like
Awesome.
I've been waiting.
Yeah.
I've been checking out all the other 10 minute Tuesdays, waiting for the turn. Like,
Well,
yeah,
thanks. Thanks for hopping
I'm
on,
gonna
my
be on next
guy.
week. I was telling all my friends I'm gonna be on next week, guys.
Well, thanks for hopping on, man. I really appreciate you. So you know the
No, you good,
drill.
man.
Episode
Yeah.
12. Let's go ahead and hop into it. So Rashid, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, no problem, man. All right, I'm Rashid Minot. I'm now a former lead solution engineer at Tableau Software. I've been doing the Tableau thing for like 6 or 7 years. Spent the majority of my career working at the banks, the big banks, so in risk and compliance, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, TIAA. But the last 10 years have been mostly in analytics. So that's kind of my little story.
Cool, cool. That's a big story, man. 10 years? What? That's crazy. I didn't know you've been in it
Yeah,
that
man.
long.
Yeah, it's a lot better now than what it used to be. Back then,
Yeah.
we didn't really, we kind of kept it a secret because it's kind of like you felt bad for people who work in data analysts. Like, oh, you deal with spreadsheets all day. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I deal with spreadsheets all day. So, like I said, you didn't celebrate it back then. Back then, it was like, yeah, don't tell nobody. I work
Yeah.
with data and spreadsheets all day. So, yeah, it's a lot
Also,
better now. You can,
yeah.
kind of lift your head and be happy about
Yeah, be happy.
it.
So understanding that, right? 10 years has been a big industry shift. It's a big priority, but you had to start somewhere. So what compelled you to get into data to even begin with?
To your point, I was working at the banks. When I started at the banks, like I said, the majority of my career was in risk and compliance. I had licenses. I had NASD licenses. I think it's FINRA now. Series 626, 63. I could sell mutual funds and annuities, and I could supervise people who sold mutual funds and annuities. I didn't like that. It wasn't me. It was a good job. It never fit. It was like just something kind of like to pay the bills. And but the more I did it, the more I started to get into some of the other aspects of data and analytics slowly. So I didn't really get into data and analytics until I was actually on an investment monitoring team. I was on the team of associate investment monitoring. It's like internal affairs for the banks. You're making sure that other employees aren't doing like insider trading or their families aren't doing that kind of stuff. And that was kind of like my introduction to data and analytics. And that was a much better fit for me. Not necessarily the insider trading thing, but just getting away from, like I said, the mutual funds and annuities and kind of the stock side of the house. That's what started me down the path of data and analytics, and then I started to find my niche, kind of over time, kind of like where it really like once we got to data visualization, and once I started to be able to work with Tableau, that was the game changer. That was the first time in my career where there were no handcuffs. Because up to that point, you were handcuffed. You were doing
Yeah.
the best you could with what you had, which wasn't much. And it was kind of like, and the first time I remember I built something in Tableau, I was talking to a portfolio manager. And I'm like, there's this new tool out. We could do some improvements to your reporting. But, I kind of was just trying to gauge him, like, like a consultant, kind of like, well, what did he was like, man, if you can make it better, do whatever you want. And I was like,
Yeah.
do whatever I want? And he's like, yeah, do whatever you want. And it's like, oh, because that had never happened before. So that's to me was like the first time I was able to actually really test something out that was beyond what was already been done. Because there's a lot of that in corporate America where if
Yeah.
it ain't broke, don't fix it. You'll
Yeah.
see situations where the same report's been being used for 30 years,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
kind of like that's a hard thing to break over time. So that was really kind of what made data and analytics kind of the light bulb go off. And then kind of like me really start to pursue it passionately, kind of after that.
Got you, man. That's like you said, the redundancy and the repetition and stuff is definitely an industry
Yeah.
that's there. So bank background, been in it for a while, but I'm sure there's stuff that you did before that. So what's been your least favorite job to date?
Oh, that's funny. I watched one of the other ones, and me and Jonas are on the exact same page with this. It was a call center.
Yeah.
Man, the call center is one of those jobs that you do in life that you kind of have to, but at the same token, it's good because it kind of like, okay, I know I don't want to do that again. Because I looked at it like for me, it was an outsourced call center, and I realized I don't want to lie to people for a living. This isn't me. I'm not. I'm answering the phone saying, "Hi, this is Rashid. Thank you for calling Microsoft. Can I help you? What can I help you with?" I'm not Microsoft. I'm an outsourced third party with a script in front of me. It wasn't me. I
Yeah.
just one minute I'm Microsoft, and the next call I'm AT&T. It was kind of, if you ever been angry, like, does this person even work there? No. The
Yeah.
people at the 800 number, they're outsourced. The college kids. It wasn't me. I learned quickly that yeah, that's not for me. So, you know. But I'm
Ooh,
glad I did it because you need to kind of do that stuff to learn kind of what you willing to do and what you're not willing to do. But
yeah,
yeah,
for
I'm
sure.
not a call center
For
person.
sure, right? I was on the help desk, so I understand what it's like to that
Yeah,
call. That man, it comes out through the phone when you, especially when you're not having a good day. It always comes
yeah,
out.
exactly. So,
Cool. All right, so hopping
uh,
into it, what would you consider like career wise your biggest failure, and really what did you learn from it?
ironically, I'm gonna be transparent. My biggest failure is happening right now. This is my first layoff. I'm a former lead solution engineer at Tableau. I was impacted at the beginning of February, and this is my first layoff. So, to me, I can tell you from one aspect, it is a failure because there's always gonna be that part of you that feels like, what could I have done? Did I do something wrong? I had, just like with Jonas, he was saying, I got good performance. No one ever told me I was doing anything wrong. You do that. You kind of second guess yourself. And at the same token, the thing that you take away from it is that, and it's kind of something I'll get into in a minute, is that it's not you. It is that kind of, sometimes these things happen that are outside of your control, and sometimes failure is just part of the process. Like, if this is on me, fine. I can eat that and I can still take it and move forward. It's not going to slow me down. It's like you want to sit there. I try to look at it from that perspective. You're going to have to take that punch to the stomach at some point. You can't really lie about it. Like, oh, I don't care about them. They ain't never been nothing. You can say that to yourself, but deep down, you're kind of hurt. And it is normal to be kind of hurt, but you kind of got to process it and then just get it out your system and then just keep moving forward. So that's my biggest thing. I'm living proof right now that I'm in the middle of a failure and it's not slowing me down. It's a distraction that sometimes, some days and some mornings is tougher than others, but there's still a journey for Rashid that's not slowing down,
Yeah,
regardless of whether this happened or not. So the big takeaway for me is that I just use it all kind of like it's just, it helps motivate you. It's kind of like this is the thing that gets you up off your ass to work twice as hard to make sure
hmm
that you're not really, I don't want to say that I want to expect this kind of going forward, like I'm gonna be laid off 10 more times in my career.
yeah,
But if I was, I'm gonna be ready for it. I'm gonna be
yeah.
ready for it no matter what, because I ain't gonna let it slow me down. Or at least I'm gonna try not to let it slow me down as much as possible. Yeah.
I think you're the first person I talked to like that's dealt with the Tableau Salesforce layoffs, and especially in real time. So appreciate that transparency and that honesty. And I'm always going to say it's their loss, right? It's 100% Tableau's loss, Salesforce loss, and
Yeah.
it's other people who's going through a game. But I really appreciate that transparency, and I know you're a sharp dude. Like you're going to bounce back real quick. Like, I'm not even worried about that.
Yeah. But at the same token, because it's not just me. This is like,
Yeah,
in the tech industry, it's a quarter of a million people that just kind of
yeah,
got thrown on the street, and
yeah,
it's kind of like, as much as I know all of them are going to rebound, just like I'm going to rebound, it does hurt. It's not something that you just kind of, it does hurt. But at the same token, like I said, everybody knows that we're going to get through this one way or another. We're
yeah,
living it right now. We're going to get through it. So, like you said, it's that kind of, it's okay to admit that, yeah, I'm kind of, it did hurt. I'm not indestructible, but at
yeah.
the same token, I'm gonna be all right. Yeah.
That's great, man. Look, great perspective because that always keeps you going as well when you have the right perspective and the power through it. All right. So, question is, what is one piece of advice you'd give someone who's just starting out in their career in data?
I mean, it's kind of like what I just said before. I mean, for me, maybe it'd be kind of two things. Number one, and Jonas said this on the other ones too. Never be afraid to ask for help. That's something I regret. You kind of you take too much on your own sometimes, thinking that you got to know everything, and you'll never know everything. It's okay to admit that you're not as good as something, and someone's better, and to ask them for help. But for me, the biggest thing that I always try to live by is that failure is part of the process, and everything that you do, you're gonna fail, and that's okay. Matter of fact, I the big advocate of fail as much as you can. Take chances, take risks. Everybody that's successful in anything has failed at something multiple times before. You look at CEOs of the biggest companies. That's not their first company. They done had two or three other companies that didn't work out that well. They don't talk about them because, yeah, it's part of the process. I think that was a big game changer when you start to, I've seen fear and self-doubt do far more damage to people's growth than any failure ever could. When you start to doubt yourself, now you're the one holding you back. You see what I'm saying? The failure didn't do that. It's now on you. And I've seen that. I've seen that with younger people, older people. It'll kill you, like dead in your tracks, man. It's okay to fail, and you're gonna continue to fail in life. And the more you fail, the more you can practice and get better at whatever it is, so you don't fail again. Just don't fear failure. Don't feel rejection. Don't fear any of that stuff, because it is part of the process, and it will make you better. Like to me, I start to look forward to, like, even when we're doing like consultant related Tableau projects and things like that, I know my business partners aren't gonna like everything I bring to them. I know they're not gonna be happy with everything that I do. That's okay. That's so, if I'm trying to appease everybody, then I'm kind of setting myself up for failure.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you got to embrace the idea that there are going to be people that don't like you or don't like what you've done or have problems with this, that, and the third. It's all part of the process. Like I said, if you don't let it slow you down, there's nothing that can slow you down. And it's just a matter of time before you're successful. There's always people that can delay your success, but no one can stop it. No one can stop it unless you let them, and that's kind of the thing I would always tell young people, no matter what, no one can stop you from being successful. It's you. They can only slow it down. That's all they can ever do.
Yeah. Oh man, that was great, man. I the failure thing was something like once you can embrace it, right? There's a concept.
Yeah.
My mentor told me it's like you're failing forward. Like you're not failing backwards. You're failing to gain something, get out of it. And even I remember like one of my biggest failures. Like I went for a job at a big company, and I was like, man, I got it. I'm good. I know these tools like the back of my hand, and I didn't get it. And I was like, oh, it was a gut punch, but it was also like, okay, I'm not as nice as I think I am. Like, let me go back to the drawing board and increase the skills that I didn't have at the time. So yeah, definitely embracing that.
I think over time, for me, you start to realize that it's not a failure. It's just you're referring to that in that moment, but over time, you're going to realize none of these things were failures. They were just part of the process of your growth. It's only a failure from a perspective. That's what I said. It's fear that does, like I said, that's the thing that can derail you much, much more effectively than actually failing at something. Yeah.
That's so true. So true. All right. So go ahead and tell me about the most influential people in your life and how they made an impact on you.
It's probably corny, but it's really kind of like my family. My parents, my sister, everybody. We're from New York, and maybe that's a blessing and a curse sometimes, because it's kind of like there's a natural born hustler in you. But it doesn't have to be something that's illegal or immoral or, it's just a mentality. That's all it ever really is. It's just this kind of like, you're not going to give up. You're not going to quit. You're going to keep at it. And like you said, just like when you're talking about with the failure thing, I don't care what it is. I might have to take a test 3 times before I pass it. And this person might have passed it in 10 seconds. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna pass this test. I'm gonna learn this skill. I'm gonna do X, Y, Z. To me, that and my parents kind of instilled that, where it's that it doesn't really matter how long it takes you. All that matters is that you achieve the goal. As much as I think sometimes people think it's a race, you're kind of racing against yourself. As long as you achieve the success that makes you happy, yeah, it might take you longer than someone else, but at the end of the day, it's not about them, it's about you. I think my parents did a good job of and my sister has the same thing. She runs a charter school now. And it took a while for her to get there. That don't happen overnight. So it's just that kind of mentality that you don't really, things can slow you down, but they can't stop you unless you let them. My parents and my sister live that every day. And I just try to keep up with them most of the time, to tell you the truth.
Awesome. Well, this was great. I enjoyed this. So, Rashid, where can the listeners find you at online?
Easiest way to find me online is the website. It's literally just my initials, just rdm-designs.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. I'm barely on Twitter. Sorry, I never really got on Twitter. But easiest way to find all my stuff. I'm on Tableau Public. I'm on YouTube. Like I said, easiest way, rdm-designs.com. All of the social media stuff is there. All of my portfolio is there. Easiest way to get in touch with me, no matter who you are. And that's another big thing, network. Let me tell you something about networking. This guy right over here, we're not putting the wrong direction. I don't know. This guy over here is literally helping me right now. If he wasn't in my network, I wouldn't have data coaching job on the side. I wouldn't have been able to talk to other folks that kind of got me. So it's a big thing. Your network comes in handy in times where you need it. And I'm living it right now. If it wasn't for Sekou and a bunch of other people, I'd be struggling right now. So
no, we got you, bro. We're gonna keep you up and floating, man. Keep it going. So we got you. But thank you so much, man. This is one of my favorite interviews. So this is awesome. I can't wait for this to come out. And thank you everybody who watched, who has been following. If you're brand new to this, please like, share, subscribe, and we will talk to y'all next week. Everybody have a great day.
Thanks, y'all.